Reveals the double disparities Black LGBT people face. Being a person of color is challenging in the United States. Being part of the LGBT communities can be difficult too. Recently released research examining the intersection of anti-LGBT and racial discrimination highlights the shockingly disproportionate harms inflicted on LGBT people of color. The National Black Justice Coalition led the report, the National Center for Lesbian Rights, the National LGBTQ Task Force, and Freedom for All Americas in collaboration with the What We Know Project, a research portal at the Center for the Study of Inequality at Cornell University. It found overwhelmingly consensus that discrimination inflicts profound, significant harm on LGBT people of color in various areas. Race-based bias leads to greater economic insecurity, poorer mental and physical health, and higher rates of suicidal thoughts. Get more on this story in this week's South Florida Gay News on Stands Now.
I don't even want to go there. Honestly, I don't know. It's one of those things where I appreciate stories like this, but at the same time, it's, well, a rock is a rock. Yeah. You know, the LGBT community is just part of the larger American community that has its own race problem. So
it's all part of this, and I think, Julio, maybe some of your work, always like the socioeconomic, gender identity, race relations, like all these things play into each other constantly. A relationship that we seemingly can never break.
Yeah, we can't separate our identities. Like, we are like this kind of compilation of things, and like Black queer feminists especially have been saying this for decades. Forms of oppression that exist, whether it's through class and race and gender and sexuality. But I'm happy this story is being reported, and people. I mean, even though this is a known thing, you know, like that is that people have been experiencing this. People of color, queer people of color, have been experiencing this since forever, right? The kind of need to kind of move toward addressing these issues in this kind of necessary ways is, I'm happy to see that on that cover.
You know, it's interesting to me. It's sad that what this is of is that we have as much discrimination bias in our own community as outside of our community.
Yeah.
And if in America should be the most tolerant, it's the Black community and the LGBTQ community, and maybe to a lesser extent brown populations, Latino populations, but specifically in the Black community for what has happened in America over a long history period of time, and the LGBTQ community. You would think that LGBT would be better on this, and this reminds us we're not much better on this.
Yeah. And I think that's
really sad.
Yeah, because I feel like even though, you know, we go through, you know, being, you know, queer or whatever, we're still part of the same system that educates us with, you know, a white take on things primarily. There's very little representation of queer people of color on television or, you know, and that affects us. That affects our community. If you want to see the true colors of the queer community, go on Grindr. Right? It's like, oh, peace and love, but no Blacks, no trans, no femmes. I'm like, all right, okay.
The one good thing that let's draw a ray of sunshine on this. We're lucky to have an organization like South Florida Gay News in South Florida. They can dedicate the amount of space to a story like this, because we consume our news like popcorn in the LGBTQ community. South Florida basically says, South Florida Gay News, no, this needs more explanation. We can't tell this story in 5 paragraphs, or I mean in 5 sentences. So it's good that South Florida Gay News is making this their cover article and their feature story this week. I'm happy to see it.
We'll pick it up.
LGBTQ plus news is vital for our community and for the broader world as a whole. We have enough enemies at Fox News. Tucker, Sean, and Laura are loud. We need passionate allies. Happening Out Television Network, Queer News Tonight, and It's Happening Out are literally out of the closet and into the headlines. Our community needs your support. Like this broadcast and subscribe now to ensure the growth of the entire LGBTQ plus